Have you ever had so many innovative ideas and didn't even know where to start? Our guest today is the inventor of lenticular earrings and other accessories, Stacey Okutake. This is an episode filled with so much wisdom. Let's listen. Hi, Stacey.
Hi, T.
How are you?
I'm great. How are you? It's so good to hear your
Oh
voice.
my God, this is incredible. Okay, so just for those who don't really kind of know you, just give us a little backstory about, you as a person, where you've come from, where you are right now, and then we'll dive into you as a brand.
Cool. Okay, so I am born and raised in California. I'm from Van Nuys to be specific.
Okay, Valley girl.
I'm a 100% Valley girl. I do not deny it. I lived in New York for almost a decade, and I was always like, no, I am 100% a Valley girl.
Yeah.
They like every other word. So
Yeah, yeah.
that's just who I am. I'm Japanese American, fourth generation, which is it's funny because growing up, I mean, it's always been in my life, but it's really become an important part of me that I'm very proud of within the past decade or so. And I'll get into that later because it
Yeah.
really connects to my brand. And what else about me?
Oh my God.
I started out, you know what might be interesting is for people, I'm one of those people that has multiple passions in life. Like
Mm,
growing up, I wanted to make short videos, do photography, do art. So there were so many things. So, it was kind of a double-edged sword because I loved so many different types of art forms and I want to do them all. And really in life, as you know, T, it's so much better if you're able to focus in on something and
mm-hmm.
really hone in on those skills. So for me, I kind of jumped around in my career, although it all kind of came together in the end. So I was in the nonprofit world for a little bit where I really was into helping other people and had that nonprofit mindset. So I was in that world for a number of years. And then I switched to being a graphic designer. So I went back to school and learned those skills, which became such a great asset for everything I'm doing now.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was in advertising and all that kind of stuff. And then I ended up deciding to really, I had such a love for fashion and aesthetics. So that's when I went to FITM. And then now I'm into the accessories world. So that's kind of my career path, which is a little, um, I could think though, as listen to more people, I feel like no one has a direct path to
Yeah,
where they want to
absolutely.
go. So yeah.
Absolutely. And one of the things I'm most proud of is just like how you kind of like are not afraid to always like experiment all the ideas that you have and to like just go fully head on and like try it out. This is what I'm passionate about in this season. And I tell like I've had some current students at FITM or even like trade tech ask me questions like how do you know this is what you want to do. I'm like, your passions can change. You don't have to be stuck with I want to make t-shirts for the rest of my life. Like you can grow into like wanting to do different things. So like Stacey is literally a living example of being not being afraid to feel whatever your passion is in that moment and then going after it. It's
Oh,
beautiful.
thanks. Yeah, it's so funny that you say that. It's nice because I feel like thank you for saying that because it's really nice that you saw that. So growing up, I mean, now I'm not so much anymore because everyone is so unique everyone is really able to express themselves these days. But growing up, I was considered kind of like a weirdo, a little. I was always kind of on the outskirts of all my, I mean, I had a lot of friends in high school and this and that, but I was always a little bit on the outskirts because I was a bit artsy. I was a bit eccentric. And even the way I dressed, I remember I used to wear, skirts and
The
pants.
most colorful outfits.
Yes,
Like
colorful.
Stacey had the best skirts in the game.
Thank
I have to say
you.
that.
Yeah, so I was always mixing and matching and really experimenting.
Mm-hmm.
And people would make fun of me for what I was wearing, and it was weird because I had a lot of insecurities growing up. for some reason,
Wow.
my sense of fashion and style became like this coat of armor for myself, and it really became
Mm,
me to communicate to people, without even having to say anything. And I
wow.
I wasn't a typical artist. I don't know how to paint or draw really
Mhm.
well, but what I was able to do was to go to a thrift store and pick out unique pieces and put them together in funky ways that I really loved. And so that confidence really came through. So people would say all kinds of things to me about what I was wearing. They would make fun of me. And I was like, you can say whatever you want, but I think I know I look fantastic. So
Right, right,
it's
yep.
just one of those things, yeah, that it's interesting because I didn't realize it at the time, but it really is a form of confidence to be able to do that. And
Mhm.
I was lucky to have I feel lucky to have that type of brain where I'm like, all right, cool. I'm going to experiment and really push the boundaries and see
Yeah.
what comes up to it, comes out of it. I think, life is life, and it's so fun, and there's so many things out there. So experimenting is something that I really love to do.
Ugh, and I hope you guys are taking notes. I literally hope you guys are like taking notes on what to do because this industry has so much to give, but not a lot of people willing to actually share. So I'm blessed to be surrounded by just givers. Like we just don't take. Like we're genuinely here to help people, and it's a 1.7 trillion dollar industry. Come on, like we can all we
Yeah,
can all get something from this.
I
So
fully agree. And
yeah.
on one of your last episodes, which were really great, you spoke on your why, like why are you doing this?
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, you were right. It's one of the most important things because if you're in it for the money,
Mm-hmm.
you're going to give up the
Sure.
second something goes wrong.
Mm-hmm.
So your why, it stems from such a unique place. So if you build your brand and your style off of that and off of who you are and where you've come from and not anyone else, then from there you will find your success, your motivation, and that thing that keeps you going and the thing
Mm-hmm.
that makes you stand out from everyone else.
Yeah, that's so beautiful to hear. So tell us a little bit about how Masa Nobu came to be. Because
Yeah.
is
Sure.
this the first full-on brand that you've owned, or you've had previous brands before, focusing directly on this one?
So I would say this is the first full on brand, but it really evolved actually. So
Mm-hmm.
right out of FITM, I did work for a fashion company for a little bit just to see how it was. And I love designing clothes, but I just had a fire and an idea within me that kept pushing me towards accessories. So when I first started my brand, it was actually these Japanese inspired belts. So they were modeled after the wide kimono belts,
Mm-hmm.
the obi belts,
Oh,
and
I
then
did order one of those.
that's
I
right.
did. I
Oh
still
my
have
god,
them.
you did, yeah.
Denim. I ordered mine in blue denim.
Yes. So
Yes.
I made, and I had at the time it was kind of a new thing, but I had all these hidden pockets in it. So
Yes.
really, and this was when phones were smaller. So
Mm-hmm.
you could
Right.
phone in it. You could put your. So I did that because whenever I went out on the town, I didn't want to have a purse, and I just wanted to be able to put in my credit card, my keys, and my phone. So it started out with that, and it was doing really well. But what happened was phones got bigger, and then yeah, and I was just like, this is no longer working even for
Yeah.
me. And I kept thinking, and then it was an idea that I had actually even before I went to FITM. So it was probably about 8 years ago. I had this idea of lenticular clothing. So
Mm-hmm.
lenticular meaning at different angles, like the images will change on whatever you're looking at.
Yeah.
So then I kept going back to it, and I just had this draw to this lenticular idea, and I experimented with clothes, and it was a bit expensive.
Yeah.
So then I started thinking, well, I can take this idea and turn it into into accessories. So over the course of probably about 3 to 4 months or so, I developed my current product, which is the lenticular origami earring. And it's interesting because I didn't do this on purpose, but at the end, I realized that they are this visual representation of being Japanese American. So
Mm,
for a majority of my life, I was never Japanese enough and I was never what's so, quote unquote American enough.
correct.
So I was always kind of so in California or in the United States growing up, this doesn't happen at all, really at all to me anymore in LA. But people would ask me like, "Oh, do you speak English? You speak English? Where are you from?" All these
Yeah,
questions
yeah.
growing up. So I was like, "Oh, I guess I just don't fit that American look." But then I went to Japan, and I was like, "Oh, I'm going to Japan. This is where I'll feel at home." And when I went there, the people from Japan were like, "No, you're not Japanese." And I was
Oh,
like,
yeah,
"What?"
yeah.
So then
Oh, no.
it was so confused. Then for me, I was like, "Okay, this is really interesting." So through these earrings really helped me connect this kind of connect myself to myself.
Right, right.
So because as I was making them, I realized that being Japanese American, being fourth generation, it just comes with a completely different storyline.
Mhm.
So that's basically what these earrings are. Is they're really embedded in my family history, in the American history of what it is to be Japanese American. And so visually, it's the origami part is a traditional Japanese art form, but the artwork is much more pop art. It's much more modern, and that obviously comes from my American upbringing. So that's how that formed. And then it's interesting because I was helping my mom clean out her house, and I found this really old suitcase. And I opened it up, and there was all this vintage shaving gear in it. And I was like, "Oh, mom, look, it's grandpa's shaving kit." So I just assumed it was his. And she looked at it and she said, "No, this is your grandmother's. She owned her own barber shop in Los Angeles." And I didn't even know that she had
Wow.
owned her own barber shop. And I was like, wow, especially during those times,
Yeah.
you just wouldn't expect a woman to own her
Mhm.
own barber shop. And I also found all of these Spanish notes. So she was taking Spanish lessons on the
Wow.
because she knew she was in LA. So she learned Spanish. She had business cards in Spanish. So she herself was this entrepreneurial spirit. And I had no idea until
Wow.
probably about like 8 years ago. And then so that's Masako. And then my other grandmother, Nobuyo, I I actually didn't know Masako, so, she passed before I met her, but my other grandmother, Nobuyo, I was very lucky to know her, and she was this fashionista. Like, I remember she had these, like, silver shoes. She would make her own dresses. She would make dresses for her daughter, so she was totally in that world
Into
of
fashion.
fashion.
Wow.
Yes, during that time, she probably didn't know it, but she was so iconic with her hair and
Mhm.
just always looking right. So I felt like the more I get to know them, the more I realize I really embody the both of them.
Yeah.
They have this entrepreneurial spirit and then this like badass fashionista.
Right.
And then so from that's where that came from. I was like, "Oh, I'm gonna create under their names,
Mhm.
Nobu, because I feel like I'm this continuation of their hopes and their dreams and their goals, these things that they could not accomplish due to just simply because of the time that they lived in."
Wow.
And that's why, yeah. And so that's why I create under Mas and Nobu. That's where that brand name comes from.
And it's spelled MAS and
Oh, yes.
NOBU.
Yes.
Good. Okay. Just for our listeners, if you want to check it out, definitely go because you would find such unique pieces and stuff that are made to last. Because every single one of these are handmade.
Yes.
And Stacy prides herself in, if it's not perfect, I'm not sending it out. And I feel like I still see that like literally in what you do right now.
Yes, it's very important to me because I always think of it in this way: the person that receives whatever you've made, this is the first time they're receiving it, and it
Mm,
might be the only time. So,
true.
you know what I mean? So, because they'll buy new pieces from me, but that will
Mhm.
so each time I send it out, I wanna make sure that it's the best experience for them.
Yeah.
So I'm very lucky I have not had any returns or anything so far.
Yeah.
Everything and it's I really feel like it's because I inspect every single one, and and really I have remade I remember there was one pair, and it just didn't come out quite right at the end, and honestly, I was like I was ready to send it out, and I backtracked. I said, "You know what? I don't feel 100% about this." So actually went home and I just remade it. And I was so happy that I did because the end product it came out beautiful and she was so happy to receive it. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Oh,
quality is very important.
it's very important. Yeah, take your time, make sure the work you're putting out there reflects you as a person because you don't want to be known as that. And I said in my one of my last episodes, you don't want to be known as one of those brands who's just chugging out things. You want to be known like as a brand that if customers are spending money on you, it's
Yep.
worth it.
It,
And they're gonna come back and then tell people about it.
yes.
Yeah. So how were you able to get funding when you started? Was it hard? Did you buy a lot of things at once? Or were you like slowly working somewhere and still like starting your brand with Masanobu?
Yes. So this is a really good question because I feel that people tend to think, quit your job and start your passion.
Mm-hmm.
I actually disagree with that. So
Yeah,
it really depends on where you are with your finances.
true.
So for myself and where you are in life and whatever makes you happy, you have to take that into account dollar sign wise.
Yeah, true.
So for me, I kept my job and I did this and I was making my earrings on the side or I was at that time actually at the beginning I was still developing them and figuring out how to make them work, just how to make the product wearable.
Yeah,
And so it took a very long time. And so I was fully funding myself because I kept my full-time job. And what I did was I saved my money and then I did end up quitting my job. And I was like, I'm doing this full time. And so I did. And for about 2 months, I focused and I put 100% of my focus on developing the product and honestly, I realized I love stability. I just do. Like, I love stability. And so what I did was I ended up getting a freelance job in graphic design.
yeah,
And that's what I've been doing since is I freelance graphic design and to be honest, that's my bread and butter still right now.
yeah.
And I fund my own business, and I basically I make some, I sell them, and I replenish my funds for that, and I do
Gotcha.
make a profit on that. And currently, I have interested investors, so I'm entering into a new phase of growth where
Mm-hmm.
I'm learning about what that actually looks like.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
I'm right at the beginning stages, and to be honest, I'm nervous about it, and I'm taking baby steps, and
yeah,
I'm very lucky. I have a couple mentors. So I'm speaking to my mentors about what this actually entails and how do I go about doing it the right way because I don't want to rush into anything. I,
correct.
I would say it's because I've had people come approach me and they want a percentage of the business, which is great. However, you just have to be okay with what percentage they want.
Correct.
So it's
Correct.
something that it's a very it's a personal choice. It's really based on what you want from your own business. So
Yeah.
I'm just at that stage where I'm figuring that out. So my funding will be changing soon, I believe. So we'll see about that though. It's a ongoing process right now.
Yeah. Oh, that's actually good because I haven't had anyone that I personally know talk about investing or like outside investors or outside money as you know the street language. Um but I think that would be yeah, I would love to get you back when we when you're past that stage of you're in, you know, you have investors and outside funding just to kind of like give us a little bit
Sure.
about what that really
what it actually looks
looks
like.
like. Yeah,
Will
yeah,
be because it's still a decision that I because you know the business too. You when you take money, that means you're also giving money to
true. Yeah,
eventually. So
yeah,
it really is something to think about, which is why I have not jumped into anything yet.
yeah,
Who knows? I might not go that route. So, but I'll be in touch with you because
yeah.
it's something important to talk about, I think.
And I feel like either way, I would still love to get you back just to know like the reasons behind why you either
Oh,
said yes or why you didn't say yes.
yeah, yeah. Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
that would be beautiful to just share your own perspectives on that.
Yeah, sure, sure.
Yeah. What was the first job you got right out of college? I'm trying to tie these back to, did you go the graphic design route or you went the
Oh,
fashion design route?
right out of college, I graduated from I went to New York University and graduated, and I really just needed a job for
Yes.
I needed to pay my rent. So I got a job as a admin assistant at this really awesome nonprofit called the Smile Train.
Hmm.
And I was at that time, I thought I was going to stay in the nonprofit world. So I spent about 4 or 5 years there, and I really loved working there. The reason why I left is because I just kept when you know how it is to you when you have this passion,
Hmm.
love for the creative world.
Yeah.
It's like yelling at you.
It doesn't leave you.
It does
It
not
doesn't
leave.
leave you.
Like, I'm sitting there making money, doing a great job, and then this creative artsy side is just yelling at me, being like, "What are you doing?
Oh my
Why aren't
God.
you being creative?" So,
Yeah.
it just keeps coming back, and I'm like,
Yeah.
"Okay." I don't think it's to the point where you just can't deny it anymore. So that fire just kept burning me, and I was like, "Okay, I get it. I get it." And then eventually I made well, to me at that time it was a risk, and I went back to school for graphic design, and even at that time I still had a part-time job, and I was going to school at night, and it was one of the best decisions though because I was able to really hone in my creative skills as well as learn a creative skill that I knew I could make money off of in the future.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Oh, okay. That's really good. Because I realized that because I came from radio and TV, and my first job out of college was working in a radio station,
Mm,
and kind of the same. I felt like after like 2 years, something was itching in me to start making clothes, which I had no. I remember the first time we went to sewing class, we could not figure out how to thread a needle.
yep.
You we were all looking at each other like that was a funny day. And I was just like, I just had that passion and it was like literally burning. Like I would be in the studio having interviews with people, like, giving them, music from all over the world. But something in the back of my head would be like, girl, where's the needle and thread?
Yep.
And
Yes. Yep.
yeah,
That is
it was
exactly how
it's a real thing when your true passion in whatever season you're in will always show itself. Even if you don't you can't tell. Sometimes I would literally have people tell me like, "Oh my God, I like the way like your pants are made." I'll be like, "Oh, I just glued it. I cut it and I made it longer, or I added another fabric, or just did something like wishy-washy because I didn't even have the techniques to actually sew. But I just knew how to make things. I'm 5'11". So I would buy jeans and they
right,
would be like high waters, like, like they wouldn't even like touch my
right,
ankle.
right, right.
So I would always go to men's, literally go and buy men's jeans. The longest I could find, sometimes I would get them in like extra large. And then I would safety pin them on the inside so I could wear it out. And people wouldn't tell. They wouldn't be able to tell. They would just, oh, your jeans fit good. It's all safety pinned on
Wow.
the inside. So I already had that. Yeah, I already had that like I just knew that my future had something to do in fashion. And then for a moment, I was like, maybe I could just do fashion reporting, like just report on fashion, which is crazy because here we are now doing
Yep.
a podcast on fashion design. It's good to actually pursue that, but stability is also very important. I know a lot of friends who quit their job prematurely and just started this business. You tell everyone about you starting a business. Everyone's supportive, but your customers are not necessarily your friends. It's people that are not really close to you that would actually, most often time, like financially support your brand.
Yes.
So it's important for one to do it like smartly. If you have a full-time job, do this on the side until it's good enough to fund your lifestyle or fund your dreams.
Yes, there's really no need to rush. Although I mean, I understand that feeling of the need to do it as quickly as possible.
Yeah,
But honestly, it's okay to go slowly.
sure.
And I think good things can come from going slowly.
Yeah.
You really take care and take notice of the things that need to get done, and I think if you rush through, you can really drop the ball on a lot of important things.
Hmm.
And there, as we were saying before, you are a unique person. Whatever you create will be unique and it will tell your own story. So as long as you're telling your own story, there's no need to rush because no one's going to be able to compete with what you're doing.
Social media just makes you feel like you're not doing enough. And you start comparing yourself like, oh my God, this brand has 200 million followers, or like,
Right.
just a crazy number. And, everyone, their videos are going viral. But yeah, going viral doesn't translate to sale.
It
I
does
will
not.
tell you, I have friends who are like killing it on TikTok, like literally doing like absolutely insane numbers on TikTok. And they still are looking for sponsorship, like deals to get by every single day.
Exactly. Yes. I think that's yes. I think that's a misconception is just because you go viral or just because you're in a magazine, it does not mean that all of a sudden your business is a multi-million dollar business. It's just not
Fact.
true. The work that goes into all of the behind the scenes
Oh my God.
is vital. And
Yeah.
you have to continually every day work towards that. I mean, it truly is an everyday commitment.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember when I was first starting this, I had friends that were like, "Oh, all you need to do is just take good photos, and then your business will just be worth $1 million." And I was
Oh
like,
my
"Yeah," and it's funny because it's just not true.
God.
Just because you
Mm-mm.
have great photos on Instagram does not mean you're going to make sales.
Yep.
It takes several different things for you to truly succeed
Yeah.
in the business of fashion or really any business.
Any business. And one of the things that, because you're in the accessories business, do you find that it's more challenging to actually stay in this industry or stand out in this industry than it is in the apparel industry?
Currently, no, because what I make is I feel very lucky because I've made something that is genuinely unique.
Mm-hmm.
So what I make is origami lenticular earrings, and what they are, so when you look at the earrings from different angles, I have words or images on them, and the words and the images will change. So for instance, I have an earring that says rise up on it. So
Mm-hmm.
from different angles, that word rise will change to the word up. So basically, it's right now, there's no one else making what I make, especially because and once again, it truly it has grown from my own family history. So my product is very unique, and
Yeah.
I have competition, but there's no one making what I'm making now.
Yeah.
And so I feel very fortunate for that. And of course, that will change eventually because the market will always catch up with you.
Yeah.
Uh, but for right now, I'm in really good standing. However, I'm working on developing new product, and that
Mm-hmm.
has come into my mind where I know I'm not a one hit wonder. I have a lot of creative ideas. However, you never know what your audience is going to continue to purchase from you. So
Sure.
it's really an experiment because the things that you think are going to fly, sometimes they don't, and the things that
Mm-hmm.
you think they're not going to like, they actually end up loving. So
Yeah.
it's really interesting. It's such an interesting like psychological experiment. So right now, I'm developing new product, and I think that it is just as good as what I'm making now.
Yeah.
And it's I'm really excited to put it out there, and we'll see how everyone what they think about it, but I really think it's something that's going to still stand out from the rest of the accessory world out there.
I remember, I don't remember what year it was, but it was Grownish, the TV show, and we were just watching it at home, like my family and I saw like Yara wearing your earrings, and I literally like I'm not sure if I still have a screenshot of that text, but I was like, Stacy,
Oh my
you're
God, I know. That was amazing.
Oh my god. Tell us about how that even happened. Like, give us the
Yes.
backstory.
So, okay, so one of the reasons why I went to FITM was because I thought I could make great contacts there. And that's
Mhm.
kind of something that was in the back of my head, and I was like, who knows? Maybe I will, maybe I won't.
Yeah.
I was very fortunate because part of our clique was Omar, who's this extremely talented, just such a smart guy,
Yeah.
and also extremely generous. So when I was making these earrings, he was actually part of the stylist team on the show Grownish. And he approached me and said, if you want, I can pitch these earrings to the lead stylist and we'll see if she'll allow them on the show. And I remember he was like, I'm really not sure if it's going to happen, but I'm going to try. And I was like, awesome.
Yeah.
So it was so funny, T, because I didn't even have a logo at that point.
Wow.
I don't even know if I had a website. Like I had barely anything. I had just really gotten the product down. So
Yeah.
and actually I make them so much better now. But anyway, so at that time I was like, oh my God, I have to send this to him ASAP because especially when someone approaches you about a television show or a movie, you have to be able to make it as soon as possible. Do not let that window close.
Correct.
So I, within the span of I think 3 days, I made about 10 earrings or so.
Wow.
I made a logo, packaging, branding, a
Wow.
tagline, and I put it all together and I sent it to him with just a wish and a prayer. And I remember when I was gonna but right before I put the package in the mail, I like prayed to my ancestors. I
Yes.
prayed to my grandmothers. I was like, okay, ladies, let's do this. And I sent it to him. And I remember Omar was saying, he was like, oh, yeah, I think they might get on the show. I was like, all right, cool. That's awesome. Very excited about that. And then later on, he was like, oh my God, I think Yara's going to wear them. And I was like, oh my God. Like, I thought they were going to be in the background somewhere. And then when I had some of my friends and family over and we were watching it, and I had no idea what a great and amazing shot these
Yeah.
earrings were gonna get. And
Yeah.
we were watching the show, and then when Yara was on, my earrings are like front and center.
Yeah.
We all were like screaming. It was such an amazing it was such a special moment.
Yeah.
I really cherished that moment. I have photos of us like surrounding the TV and just watching it. And I was lucky because the stylist actually chose two more of the earrings to be on the show. So my earrings were actually worn by Yara Shahidi 3 times on that show. Even more interesting is over the past couple years, I sell at these holiday boutique fairs, and I've had two different people approach me who work on the show. And they were like, oh, do you realize how hard it is to get your stuff on that show? And I just
Wow.
felt it's very rare that I feel very proud of myself, but I was like, oh my gosh, I'm so like it was kind of one of those moments where you think people are just trying to do something nice for you. And
Mhm.
I realized I was like, no, it's my insecurity speaking because I was like, you know what? No, it's what I do is unique and it's great work and it's
Yeah.
beautiful and I make quality and beautiful and unique products and I really took a moment to stand in that and I was like, okay, I really have something here.
Yeah.
So that's that yeah, so that was the exciting Grownish story that still to this day I talk about it and it really it was such a proud and fun moment for me. So I'm so appreciative of that.
Yeah,
It was
it's such a beautiful thing. It's so rewarding, and
yes,
not necessarily like you have to have a celebrity saying it, but if you really know what it takes to get anything on a celebrity with all the options they have, you
Yes.
would be very grateful.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. So
Yeah.
I felt, and to this day, I'm so, so grateful for those moments. So,
Yeah. What are some of your biggest fears that you faced when you aside like financial, were there any other like fears that you faced or that you still currently face with, you know, having your own business?
oh yes, 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 yes. So I I always say that I have held myself back for many, many years.
Mm.
And FITM was actually the first time where I made the decision to really take a chance on my artistic ideas.
Mhm.
So up until then, before that, I was always kind of dabbling in artsy stuff and dreaming on the side about the things I wanted to do. And it really wasn't until I went to FITM that I learned that that I really started to believe in myself, to be honest. And I
Mhm.
started to trust the process of experimentation and developing ideas and bringing ideas to life, because it's not an easy process. Like, you have an idea in your head, but the process to make that to bring that idea to life, it's very different. And
Yeah.
sometimes it your idea comes out a little different in the end, but it's a process that was very intimidating to me. And so that was something that I had to conquer, and it took FITM to help me do that. So that fear is something that still stands with me to this day, is this fear of failure. So it is something that I have to continually work on. And a part of it, is just the self confidence and working on that as well. So even with my brand, and even though I've had success with this brand, I've gotten it into museum gift shops, and it's been really great. I still have that self-doubt. So that's something that has stayed with me, that I continue to work on.
It's a lifelong journey because you never finish discovering yourself. That's the
Exactly.
one thing that one of my life coaches, Darius Daniels, has taught me. It's you can't finish knowing who you are, because the day you finish knowing who you are, you can't live for anything else. But if there's always something more that gets you excited, that gets you curious, how can I make this better? What can I do differently? You know, the choices I made yesterday got me here. What can I do differently? Um, as long as you have that, you're open to being a better version of your yesterday. I feel like it's something that can help you, especially in this industry, where people just sometimes copy and paste. They lack the ethic of actually designing from scratch. I like the way that dress looks. Okay, let me find a seamstress, make it, put my name on it. Like,
Yes.
when you see people doing things like that, I tell people this all the time, especially like young, upcoming designers. Anyone can steal your work. They can steal your ethic. They cannot steal the creativity that goes into it. They can steal the finished result, which is still, it hurts, it's bad, but don't dwell on that. Otherwise, you're limiting yourself from actually continuously creating new things. Because
Yeah.
if you buy something on some of this fast fashion website that they're trying to like copy, like for example, let's say like a Chanel or a Dior
Oh,
or a Louis Vuitton,
right.
and then you buy like a knockoff, you can't even go near someone who smokes because you would catch fire. Like, that's
Right.
how bad that's how bad that's how bad of a fabric they would use. And they wouldn't even get the spellings correctly. The threads are like popping out. Like,
Yep.
it's easy to say, fast fashion is cheap, but at what cost?
Exactly. Exactly. And I think you got it right there, is like, yeah. Exactly what you said. Yeah.
Yeah, it's true. Museum.
Oh,
I
wait.
know. Oh, go
You
ahead.
know
Go
what
ahead,
I was
love.
gonna say, actually? That this is what I was so something that I hold on to as well is, whenever I start feeling too comfortable, I know I have to push myself. So if
Mm-hmm.
I'm too comfortable and too laxed about something, that means I'm not pushing those boundaries.
True.
It's so easy to cut and paste things and just be like, all right, that's the finished product. And it's, yes, and you can copy someone else, but really, people can tell when something is truly unique.
True.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, I agree. Speaking of your work in museum, I know that some of your earrings are at the Japanese American National Museum and also the Little Tokyo Service Center. I know like I've seen like articles and stuff about like your entrepreneurial skills and endeavors and places like that. Um, how accomplished do you feel? Like how does that make you feel as a brand?
Oh, yes. So I actually feel very lucky. So right now, my pieces are in the Japanese-American Museum, the San Francisco Asian Art Museum, and the Getty Museum gift shops. And each one was a little different, actually, in how I got in there. And I feel very proud of these accomplishments. So for the Japanese American Museum, I'm particularly proud because I knocked on doors, like I went there, I went to the store with a box of earrings
Yeah.
and I approached the cashier and I said, "Can I speak to your buyer?" And they said, "No." They
Wow.
said, "You have to make an appointment." I was like, "Oh, okay." So I got the name of the person and her information, and I went home and I sent her an email, and thankfully she wanted to meet with me. Oh, and I made a whole press release for myself and sent her photos and a story about why I'm doing this, and she met with me, and so we met in person. And thankfully she loved what I was doing and she felt like it was a great fit for the store, and so I
Mhm.
made custom pieces for the Japanese American Museum. And I was just so proud that that happened because it was the first store that I had gone into.
Wow.
And the Getty Museum was really interesting because I'm not sure how they found out about me. Oh, something else I did was I emailed nearly every art museum in the
Wow.
world, or not the world, but I emailed, I don't even know how many. I emailed so many art museums
Wow.
about my lenticular earrings and about my story. And I remember the the buyer from the Getty Museum started following me on Instagram, and it might have been from an email or it might have been from something else. I don't know how he found out about me. And I and it's he didn't say he was from the Getty Museum.
Yeah.
For some reason, when he friended me on Instagram, his icon, his little profile icon, I was like, "Oh, that guy looks interesting." So I clicked on his profile, and then I did I don't know why, there was something about his profile. I was like, "I feel like this dude's important." So I did some more research. I was like, "Oh my god, this guy works for the Getty Museum." I was like, "Amazing." So
Wow.
from there, I was like, "Okay, well, I didn't say anything, and I just noticed he was liking my stuff, and I was like, 'This is great.'"
Yeah.
Then it was, months, like 6 months later, he messages me, and he asks if I do wholesale, and he asks for, my line sheet and, my basically my catalog,
Right.
my wholesale catalog, and of course, I didn't have one, so I had to put one together. That was another all day, all-nighter because I had to take photos, and it was just, like, a bit messy, but I brought it
Yeah.
together. And so I sent him my wholesale, and he was like, "This is great." He loved it. He loved my product. And it wasn't until probably, I want to say, a year later that he finally put in an order for them. So it was an interesting process. And then he approached, so I sent him his order. They were so happy with it, and they approached me to do a custom design piece. So that's something that's still, uh,
Wow.
yes. So that's something that I have to get my numbers right and make it work for the both of us. But
Correct.
that's something that is in the future as a custom design piece for the Getty Museum gift shop, which I'm so excited to do that. And then the San Francisco Asian Art Museum was another one that I am unsure how they found out about me. I got an email from them asking if I do wholesale, and that they actually needed pieces right away, like ASAP, within probably about a week's time. It was very stressful because I
Wow.
had my full-time job.
Yes.
I was, and they ordered quite a few pieces, so I was working. That was another all-nighter for like a week of creating these pieces for them. And when I was so happy because I mailed it out, and then I got an email back from them saying that they received it and that they were so happy, and they were like, the pieces are actually even more beautiful in person, which was such a relief to me.
Wow.
So that what so I was just so happy and so proud of that as well. So
That's an amazing feedback when you actually put your heart into something and then people get it and they're even more like speechless by having the product in their hand
yes.
than how it looks online.
Yes, I was, because that's always kind of a little a bit of self-doubt where I'm like,
Sure.
"Oh, are they gonna love it as much when they have it in their hands?"
Right.
And thankfully, I mean, this keeps happening with me where people always say when I get them in person, it just like blows their mind. And so it makes me so happy when I hear that. I feel very fortunate to have that feedback.
Do you find it important to have a mentor in exactly what you do or to just have a general mentor in business and, try to pull things from them?
That's a really good question. Really good question. I think mentors, and I say plural, are very important. And I think you can find mentors for different things. And I think it's very important to have different perspectives. So I've been very fortunate in my most recent years, in the past like couple years or so, is I have a mentor who he owns a his own nonprofit, and he's such a good-hearted man, and he's always saying the answer is love. So it's and he's a really good friend of mine. His name's Eddie Robles. He's just such an amazing person. So he's become this a more of a life mentor in general,
Mhm.
just a friend to me. And then I have these other mentors now through this organization called the Polk Institute. That's POLK Institute. This is an amazing, amazing organization. What they do is they've created a business school program that is completely free.
Wow.
Yes, you have to apply to get in though, and you have to have a business that has some sort of community effort. So you basically want to be doing good for people. And so what they do is they teach you how to have good business standards and they even have a class, a whole month on what it takes to be a B Corp. So B Corp is a standard in business that is fully regulated, that you have to, and I believe they do annual checks on your business from
Mhm.
top to bottom, finances,
Wow.
employees, how you're manufacturing. So it keeps people in check.
Correct.
I think B Corp is something that in the very near future, people are really going to start checking to see if a company is at B Corp standards. So the Polk Institute, that's one of the things that they really push for you to become. So through this program, which I highly recommend, if anyone's out there listening that's starting their own business,
Mhm.
just apply. Their focus is to bring up minority entrepreneurs. So if you're out there, just check out their website. It's the Polk Institute, and apply for their program, because it's really great. Because right now I have connections. If I have a question about HR, about how to hire, about manufacturing, any of these things, I now have contacts with from the Polk Institute, and I have
Wow.
two people in particular that have become such great mentors. They have helped me uh, put together a pitch, and I'm so grateful because I actually ended up winning this pitch competition. So
Wow.
I pitched my business, and I won this women's pitch competition, and they helped me through it. And it's these types of people that are so generous,
Yeah.
or they're out there, and I think it's if you can find someone to mentor you, I say 100% do it, because
Yeah.
there are people out there who have already done what you've done. They've made all the mistakes, and
Sure.
all they want to do is help you and keep you from making those mistakes. So why not use them? Having mentors, having people like you, T, just people that you can talk to about your business.
Yeah.
Perspective is so important, because everyone will have a different perspective on one thing about about how you're costing your product. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? So it's so I think it's so important if you're young and you're, in your early 20s, fine, do make the effort to find a mentor.
Guys, it's polkinstitute.org. And I'm literally on their website now, and I'm ready to actually like reach
Yes.
out to these people because
No,
even I had no idea that
yes,
such a resource was available to us. And
yes.
what's your least favorite part about being being a designer?
That's such a you know what's funny? I was talking to my friend about this because she's an artist, and I said, being a creative is a double-edged sword because
Mm-hmm.
a part of it is just, I mean, being creative gives me life. Like I feel I wake up in the mornings and I go to sleep at night and I thank the universe, the gods, everyone for what I can do and what I
Mm-hmm.
have. Like I just feel like it's really a gift and I feel so lucky to have it.
Yeah.
However, being a creative can really drive you crazy
Yeah. Yeah.
because it's just your brain is kind of wired differently.
One of the life lessons I've learned is it's okay to give yourself permission to do things precisely. Don't just swing at everything. Because I used to be that person, just like you said, like it's you have a bunch of different ideas and trying to do all of it at the same time was not getting me anywhere. So like being taking my time, I reserve the right to take my time to be precise, to know that if I'm going to go after this, this is the one that I'm going after right now. And then when I've seen it to a good, good enough stage, I can add something else on top of it. So I think that helps me about like not dreading being a designer because I have so many ideas of how many gowns live in my head for free, like how many
Yes.
dresses, fabrics that I want to experiment with. But I'm like, no, I'm gonna work with only silk and that's it. And then I'm gonna go next to lace, and then that's it. And then instead of like doing everything all at once at the
Oh,
same time.
that is such a smart move.
Yeah,
That honestly is such great advice because yes, when you're young, explore, experiment, but at some point,
yeah,
really focus in on that one thing because
mm-hmm,
otherwise you'll be left with kind of being somewhat okay at a lot
yeah,
of things, which is not where you want to be.
right.
Yeah,
And not being great at
vital
any.
information.
Yeah, yeah,
Very important. Yeah.
yeah. So I have a final question for you. Tell us about some of the designs that you've, put your blood, sweat, and tears into, and no reception from the customers. Nobody bought it. It just sat there. Like what? Like how did you feel, and what did you do with them?
Oh, that's a really good question. Um, you know what this question is making? This is going to be a different type of response, I think, T. Okay.
Let me have it.
Okay. This is really good. So, what this question has revealed to me is that I have not pushed myself, or not pushed myself, but I have not put all my ideas out there.
Mm,
Because to be honest, with so far with my ideas, I've been very fortunate in that I've had success with them. And that's awesome. So I live in this world right now
mm-hmm.
where I have found the success with these products and I have not put out a lot of my or any of my new ideas. And so what this question has really highlighted and put a spotlight on for me is
Yeah.
how badly I really need to experiment and take that risk of putting
Mm-hmm.
out new designs because
Wow.
I have been really sitting on some great ideas that I love and I've started developing them and it's still in the experimental phase, but I
Mm-hmm.
haven't quite brought it to reality yet where it can be
Yeah.
a product I can sell to people. And I think I really appreciate this question actually because it's pushing me because I should right now my answer should be yes. I have this product that I've been working on and it totally failed. I
Mm-hmm.
don't have that story, and it's not because I'm so great or anything. It's because I have not taken that risk. And so that is what I need to do is I need to take the risk and I need to put my new stuff out there. And it
Yeah.
makes me a little nervous because I really enjoy the success that I have and just to go back to the fear of failure and just that
Yeah.
self-doubt is, for people like us who have those insecurities, whenever we find that success, we really
Mm-hmm.
hold on to it.
Yep.
And I think I hold it as a bit of a crutch, and I do want to expand and freaking bloom like a flower
Yes.
or whatever
Yes.
it is. I do want to show more of of myself out there.
Mm-hmm.
And so that is something that for this year I actually, well, I started the very end of last year, as I really started working and designing this new product and this new line, and working on expanding my brand, and it's keeps coming up on my list, and I keep kind of putting it to the side. But right now, this question has really it's given me like butterflies in my stomach in a good way.
Yeah. Oh, that's good. That's
Yeah.
good. Yeah. Oh my God, that's good. I'm happy. That was the intention, actually, because there is no right or wrong answer. I've had people um pretty much say they honestly don't have anything right now that's not, that's just been sitting there. And I've had people tell me about countless of things that they even spent so much money on
Wow.
and it just didn't move. So it's like it's good to hear everyone's perspective. Because we all do things uniquely, so our results are also all going to be unique.
That's so true. Oh, I can't wait to hear your other episodes though, because I would love to hear. Because yeah, when you put your heart into something, like what happens when it fails?
Yeah, yeah,
So yeah, that'd be interesting to hear, because I know one
yeah,
day I'm going to experience it. So
yeah. Thank you so much, Stacy, for taking the time out of your busy day on a holiday to actually even do this interview with us. I'm super grateful.
oh, thank T. I really appreciate you even asking me to do this. I really love what you're doing. I'm so excited for you. So
Yeah.
much best of luck to you in your new endeavors.
Thank you. Thank you so, so much. And guys, don't forget to go to MAS, that's mass, and NOBU, Nobu.com to shop Stacy's pieces.
Yes, and check out my Instagram as well, and message me, because right now my website is not up to date with every product I have
Oh,
actually. So,
that's good to know. That's good to
yes,
know.
so message me.
That's good to know. Thank you so much, Stacy.
Thank you so much, T. I'll talk to you later.
Okay, have a good
Okay,
one.
bye.
And that's Mass and Noble founder Stacey Okutake. We hope this episode has taught you so much. We cannot wait to see you next week.